But Dele, we always like to get started with asking, what are three fun facts, about yourself that you would like to share?
Okay. I think I'll summarize that in like three statements. The first one is I love music a lot. And the second one is I love life. And then the third one is I love people.
Oh.
Yeah. I hope it's not too simple.
No. Well, actually, for those who don't know about you too, like, do you want to? Because I guess, yeah. Could you just talk a little bit more about just who you are? Because not everyone knows.
Okay. My name is Dele Olutade. I've been a violinist for about 20 years now. I think I started in 2000 and okay, 21 years, about 21 years now, when I was still small. Um, One thing I'd like to do usually with music is to explore all the genres because I love all the genres: jazz, contemporary, pop music, Broadway, classical, definitely. And it's been my passion and my life for the past 20 years since I started music. Um, and on the statement of me liking people, and I love to see people grow. I love to see people succeed, and I love to see changes in my environment. It's part of those things that I've always been a part of. I like to help people out whenever I can and how best I can. And it's one of the reasons why when music came into the scene for me, I was someone who wanted to hear music well the way I always heard it on recordings. And when it wasn't the same, I was like, I have to go about changing how music sounded in those days as uh, relating it to what I hear with on recordings and trying to bring about that same standard in music. And so I know that the community here in Nigeria needs growth and it needs the the influence of the standards of music. And so it's something I've been a part of all the while. So that's one of the reasons why I went to teaching the violin and the viola. And it's been my passion for years.
Mm, yeah, and you already kind of touched upon like that question of like what inspired you to be a teacher slash violinist, and you also played with viola. Is that?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So this session is mostly focusing on kind of like orchestral music within Nigeria, just trying to understand more how it's evolved. But like the first question I had was in terms of like orchestral music, because it's pretty. I've always like pondered, is orchestral music is the idea of or an orchestra like a Western thing, and I just wanted to like because there are orchestras within Lagos, but like in terms of the viability and the growth of that, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Okay. Um, since about 2 decades ago, when I started with music, what I saw was a few instruments like the violin, the viola, not much of the cello and the bass because it seemed a little bit far-fetched in producing sounds on them. And then all the woodwinds I actually met with was just the clarinet and the flute. There was no oboe, no bassoon, or any other. And then we had the trumpets and trombones, and pretty much that was it. Over time, it didn't feel like an orchestra setting because there were not all the instruments represented, which could give the variety of sounds, and there was practically little music you can play with that setting. I think what we did then was just to play four parts, however it came. Um, so over time, based on because I wanted to change the narrative, I had to start doing a little more. One of the things I did was learn exactly first how to play right, and then I also did my best in encouraging friends and young ones around me to also do the same. Some had interest in playing the instrument, but they didn't have the access. So one, yeah, I had to put myself into engage myself with going online to download videos and tutorials for young ones on this instrument, on that instrument, and trying to um, give them more light about what they need to do and how they can push themselves. And after about 10 years, I think in 2011, we had the opportunity of traveling out of Nigeria for a music festival, which I was the leader of the orchestra. And we just started developing other instruments about that time, but we didn't have a good knowledge of how the standard should be. So it was one of those things we had to go out of the country to learn. And while we're at it, I mean, we spent about 2 weeks and gathering knowledge with professional teachers. Back then, that was in South Africa, and we had some people who were really really good, and they explained a lot of things to us, how music should be played, the gestures, the nuances, and everything that we could do. And we came back into Nigeria and we said, well, we can't let this die. I mean, it's our first anyway, but nonetheless, we gathered so much because it was a new experience. It was something different that we actually never thought, okay, this is how it could go and this is how we could do things. I mean, we played music differently as at before 2011 when before we traveled, and now it was a different scene after we came back, because now that we saw so many things we did wrong and so many observations, how we have to practice, how we have to play, how we have to rehearse, and everything became a different thing. And since then, I think the orchestra has been traveling yearly. I've been engaged in most of the travels anyway, but at least we try to give the whole music, the whole music scene here in Nigeria a different experience. I've been so much involved in teaching, not just in my church, but everywhere I could. Right now, I'm teaching at a university. Um, I'm teaching the year 4 students and then the year 2 students, and it's because the knowledge which they need, I kind of have that at least to put them through their studies and make them fit to engage themselves in the society. So I would say over time, we have been able to build the, the orchestra setting from just any instrument to what all the instruments should be. Now we have more cellos, we have more basses, we have the oboe, we have the French horns, we have the percussions with the xylophone and all those things. Recently we got the harp, though it is the um, the other app, the liver harp, but we're hoping to get the pedal harp soon anyway. So I guess that's just a move. And if it's going to survive in Nigeria, I think yes, it can, but it depends on how we're going to work it out.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then you kind of touched on my next question, and because I know, I've always kind of thought about, for example, when we think orchestra, there's kind of like this general setup, but within Lagos, there's instruments, that we have ourselves. For example, like the talking drum. But when you do orchestra, like when you go to like ensembles, is that ever really seen in like an ensemble, like more like Nigerian based instruments, or is it predominantly, like Western based instruments within this orchestra?
When it comes to, it depends on the genre that is being played. If you have something like when we're being called to a classical concert, basically that's what they do. They don't mix it up unless they're trying to blend all kinds of genres together with the high life, which is an African genre, and with contemporary pop, rap, and all kinds of then they mix them. So you probably will have it in those settings. But when it comes to the classical setting, which is supposed to be strictly classical, all African instruments excluded.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then in terms of like, you've had a lot of experience, playing with the Divine Symphony Orchestra, MUSON Orchestra. You've also played with the Chineke Orchestra in the UK. But I was wondering, in terms of like things you've observed playing the orchestra abroad and in Lagos, just kind of like a compare and contrast, like some of your observations.
Okay. Here in Nigeria, things are not yet so standardized. I think that comes from the side that many players don't yet see it as something they can really be a part of or benefit from. So they either take it way up with a very bad character, or they just let it slide and do other things and use it as a hobby. It's not so for me anyway, and that's why I always wanted to take it up professionally. And I'm very into making sure that uh, I go professional. People under me that I train, those who are into the classical world, they all go professional. I don't want any one of them to be left out. So in Nigeria, the organizations still have a part to play, but which is they have not been very helpful in supporting the environment, the classical environment or the orchestral environment. Everybody still sees it as what's the profit? This is Nigeria. We don't need this. We want just the contemporary and the high life because that's what almost everybody listens to. And though there is a community for the classical music, I mean, I've played in so many places, so I get that. But it's not just as much as the contemporary side. So you can't get the best of the standards as it is in the Western world here in Nigeria. But me going to London some 2 years ago and 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and joining the Chineke Orchestra, everything seemed quite different because number one, the organizations they're ready to make things work, and however it is, they do their best. And the players too always act professional because the mindset is that this is not just a hobby, this is a profession, this is my passion, and so I have to leave it. And so many of them over there, in contrast to Nigerian players, it's totally different. And I wish we had that kind of setting here in Nigeria.
Hmm. Real quick too, I just want to give time if anyone has questions, please, um, you know, feel free to shoot. Oh, I also have some more questions too, but like, I'll just give everyone a couple seconds. Okay, so for the next question I had was in terms of that audience development in which you talked about in Lagos, kind of how it's not as supported. Because I think like the support is really going to come from an audience. But I was wondering like what are ways you've seen an audience, been kind of gathered, and also ways you can grow an audience.
Okay, based on the evidence, I think from what I've experienced in Nigeria, I have to relate it to people from the earlier generation, like those from the 70s, the 60s, those from the 80s. Um, these are the people that actually grew up with classical music because when I was growing up, you probably visit every house and you find either a grand piano or an upright piano or some form of classical instrument in the houses. It was later when I started playing the violin, my mom told me that I had a great grand uncle that actually played the violin in Nigeria. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And it's like that generation passed away, and then the new generation from 90s up to now, there's been a change of environment. People don't learn instruments anymore. Even the schools don't support the musical system like they do. They don't support the language system. Learning other languages like the French or Spanish or any of those things is just basically what is required for them to get into the university. That's been what's been taught. Um, there is the old audience, which someone like me and those perhaps older than I am are a part of. They are the ones that know the music. Many of them grew up in churches where they sang works from Handel, Bach, and maybe some of the transcriptions by Mendelssohn. And so they know those works. And it was good. I mean, they are the ones that come regularly to the concert halls to watch. Until the 2005, 2010, when many of us, I mean, my friends and I, we got into this and I wanted to change the environment. It was until then we started having younger ones come into the classical scene and wanting to be part of the environment. Sorry for that. They wanted to be part of it. And we had a very, very lucky pastor who has been very, very supportive of music because that was how he grew up. He grew up with classical music. He grew up with classical music, and that's really helped him to. He always wanted to support classical music all his.
Did everyone freeze?
I think just him.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. We'll give it a second.
Do we just keep moving around so that way you know that you're not frozen?
Yeah, it feels like time slowed down. He'll be back in any second now.
Sorry, before he comes on, I'm just leaving the school now, and I will just turn off my recording. I will mute my video and the video itself. So
okay. Oh, is that the MUSON school?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
so
the MUSON.
That's so cool. Is that a palm tree?
So I don't know what's keeping him. So.
They'll be back in a couple. I didn't know there's palm trees. It's interesting. Anyone got any plans for today? So I'll keep it a secret.
I'm doing some research on a book project. So I'm watching some videos of Gail Williams, who's a horn player. She teaches at Northwestern near us, Daniel, which is cool. So
Oh, nice.
I'm watching some videos of hers and taking some notes and just about done with her research. Yeah, it's a book on like 12 kind of brass, like women brass players that are kind of pioneers in the field. So that's what I'm doing today.
Okay, that's very exciting. Yeah, Daddy said he's working on it, so he should be back any second. Any second. Oh, okay, house clean. I have to vacuum.
I did that. Yes, I did that a little bit yesterday, and then I like cleaned the stovetop today.
Oh,
Watered some plants. I have to do it in stages because I just don't really like doing it. But
oh, Daylay's back. Woohoo! The one and only.
Sorry, there was, yeah, sorry.
Oh no, you totally.
Okay. As I was saying, so we have the new audience based on the fact that we have young ones now that are coming into the scene that are being trained, and because they go back home with their instruments, they practice at home. A lot of people are getting the awareness of what those instruments are and how to go about them, and everybody's been a part of it. I know it's growing slowly, but I mean it's getting there. So yes, there is an audience,
Right.
and there can, more people, more can be done on building an audience too.
Yeah. Another question I had was, I know in terms of like opportunities for like younger students, perhaps to whether they're in high school, middle school, or versus college, but are there opportunities for ensemble playing outside of, because I'm only familiar with the best orchestra. I know there's MUSON, there's also the Mountain Fire, but are there other ensembles in which you can be involved?
Um, that has to be created. I think if you want something that's going to be done standardly, then probably one has to create it. I work with a lot of my colleagues and young ones that I started with in at the church, and we play music every Thursday right now. And then for the violinists, we do a lot of studies on Tuesdays, and so I think that kind of, if it's gonna go places, and then I mean we have to keep the group together, and then we have to push hard at it. But if they are not, an ensemble in Nigeria has to survive, then it has to first go through a certain procedure of, okay, what are the instruments, or what are the genres of us classical music directly into people's listening, so that it can be acceptable.
Yeah.
There is a step which I have thought of in times, which I feel maybe music can go through that environment, that channel, to get to more people, and then we can get the acceptance as orchestral music grows in Nigeria. Would you
Mm.
like me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay. One of the first things I feel as an ensemble or an orchestra should do is, first we need to get um, our indigenous popular music or folk music, which is the first thing. That is what they relate to. Playing it on a classical instrument feels different. It always draws their attention first, because everybody's like, okay, how come this is a classical instrument and yet it's playing something from our own side of the world, and so they pay attention to it and they love it a lot. And from there, I feel we can break into having our African composers, or African music newly composed, making it into that same scene. And also, in addition to that, putting in some uh, pop music, Walt Disney's classics, Broadway, things people grew up with, as because they that easily too. And from there, we'll probably just go into the regular classical scene, but on a light note, not something that comes from the level of someone like Schoenberg or Albenberg, it's something rather lesser tonal, because that way it's pleasing to their ears. But we have to start from the folk music into the uh, the pop music, Disney, Broadway, things that everybody grew up with, into light classical, and then into perhaps pieces of music by Tchaikovsky, the Romantic, Mozart, and things that they were taught in school. That these, okay, these are the people who started and who were the leaders in music then. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I just have two more questions. My second to last question. Do you know the program called El Sistema? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So I read. I forgot what the book was called, but I read a book and kind of talked a little bit about that was the entire book. It just talked about El Sistema, and it talked about when they went to perform, they would perform like kind of like their Venezuelan repertoire, but when it came down to like in terms of what they deemed as classical, it would be like these big symphonies and stuff. And like even
Yeah.
though symphonies like Beethoven or like Brahms are good, I'm also wondering in terms of like Nigerian compositions, like is should the goal be to be able to like compose something on that level, or should the goal be able to compose something that is unique to the people? Because I'm not sure if that mindset of like if we're not composing something like on this level, it's not that idea of equivalence, or like what is seen as like this hierarchy or something.
Okay, if we're trying to get more audience to listen, we could start with something that relates to them. And if we get to a certain level based on the character of the composer, we may have to start with that first and then move into the more serious classical repertoires and things like that. So if we have composers of music that has been generally written for the African scene, it comes easily to them, but not just for that, also mixing it up with other genres. I know I've had um, concerts with Rosalind in times past, and we've done things together where we mix up both the classical, the some folk music, and we do all those things together, and it just to touch everybody in the audience. Yes, we did that. Yeah, so we can always have everything all together, but usually we would like to start with something very, very relatable to the environment here.
Okay. And then my last question before I just open it up to really anyone, what is your piece of advice for people who face adversity in the midst of trying to accomplish their goals?
I feel that they should just go at it. I mean, I've had young ones who were in the country years ago, and I always give them my advice to always just be focused and push out at it. And many of them are not in the country anymore. They are studying or perhaps have finished studying in one university abroad, and they're doing well. And they always call me in times to just thank me for helping them and pushing them all the while. And so for the new ones, those who are here in Nigeria, I always do my best to keep supporting them and telling them exactly what they need to do. You have to be focused, you have to be disciplined, and you have to just stand for what you believe in, because it's important. It will take you places. And I think that's basically it.
Hmm. That's true. So again, I just want to open it to anyone who may have questions for Dele. All right. So, is that Dr. Perry UK model?
That's okay. I'd like to ask a quick question. It sounds like it's such a struggle to get funding and support for classical music in general in the area. So working with my student, I'm trying to find, talking with Daniel and trying to make sure they're, kind of like direct him in the right way. So do you feel like it's important that you need to like leave the area to go further studies for classical music and then come back? Or do you feel like he's a trumpet player and I'm a trumpet player? Do you feel like it's possible to like grow either like a private teaching or for him to make a career in playing trumpet in the area, or does he really need to leave and get more study and come back?
Okay, I think that's what the present condition of the country right now needs that you go out and study, because we don't have that kind of facility yet in Nigeria where we have the professional teachers and the professional setting, the practice rooms and everything you need to really meet up with the standard in the world. So right now, everybody would still have to travel out of the country to learn. And when they are done with their studies and they can get themselves engaged in quite a lot of things, coming back to Nigeria, there has to be an environment for it first, which is part of what I do. And it's something I know Rosalind too has been a part of too. She's been having regular concerts at least once or twice or 3 times a year, just to put things together and raise that community. And it's what we do. And so there has to be a community so that, because when you come back and you don't find that, you may want to say, okay, I don't think this place is for me, and I don't think the rest for my music. So you may want to leave again, and so it won't be advisable. But what we have to do is set up that environment here in Nigeria that is in full support, and it won't go back. It's going to be a foundation where it will not stop, and we will always have the sponsorship and also the support, even if it is from the government, to support the music. And so I feel he will have to learn outside first, and we have to build the environment, the community, before one can say, okay, I need to be here in Nigeria. And I mean, through the music, we can, and through the people who are committed, yes, we can do that.
I see Valentine, he said he can't unmute, but Valentine had a question saying, how is it possible for you to help us violinists here in Nigeria?
Oh, he's in Nigeria?
Yeah. He's studying at
okay. He's studying at MUSON.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not the teacher at the MUSON Center. Could have been, but I'm not the teacher right now. So what I do, I have classes on Tuesdays, which is a virtual class. I call it a virtual class because it's away from something which is the usual graded exam levels where you teach how to play, your skills and everything. I want to say that everybody who is coming for that class should be ready to go through a lot of studying. They must know their skills and everything. So when they're coming, they can always be part of the class. It's open to everybody anyway. So it's not something I exclude to just for my members only, but if they need that support, they can always contact me and we can work things out to help support and grow them so that they can always move from where they are to the international level of musicianship that they need to be. Yeah. I hope I answered.
Yeah. Yeah, Valentine said cool, so I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, yeah, for me, don't have any more questions. I usually like to try. Oh yes, Valentine was asking. Well, Dale, I can send him your. Is it cool if I send him your contact?
Yes, yes, that's fine.
Okay, I'll do that then. I'll put that in my notes to send that your way, Valentine. All right, yeah. But if we don't have anything else, I usually like to try and keep the guest sessions somewhat short, so that way when we like edit everything down, it's not like people are watching like a movie. It's at least something that's like digestible. Oh, Valentine said he's also studying voice in MUSON too, voice and violin.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'd like to meet him.
Yeah. I will send your contact to him. But if not, I hope everyone has a fantastic, for some of us, afternoon, for some of us, night. But nevertheless, have a fantastic day.